This conference will now be recorded.
We just wait for a few more people to join in, post which we'll start in another 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you. Okay, Kyle and Elvis, are you guys ready? I think I'll start with the introductions.
Sure, ready?
Sure,
Okay
ready.
then. Yeah, okay. Thank you then. Hello everyone. Good afternoon, good morning to you. Welcome to this webinar on Certified Performance Tester with JMeter, which is brought to you by Performance Testing United in association with Verity Software and Step In Forum. So before we dive into the introductions of our presenters for today's webinar and what they will be covering, I would just like to give a brief note to all the participants. So as participants, you all will be in listen mode only during this presentation, and you'll all have a we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, post which you can unmute yourselves if you have any questions or type them in the chat box during the presentation, and the presenters can take them accordingly when they feel they can. So coming to our presenters for today, so we have Delvis Echeverria, Guillermo Skrillex, and Kyle Alexander Simmons. So Mr. Guillermo, he won't be able to make it for the today's presentations due to some personal emergencies, and Delvis will also be presenting on behalf of Guillermo as well. So coming to our first presenter for today, his name is Mr. Delvis Echeverria, and he has earned a Bachelor of Computer Science and a Master's degree in Software Engineering, focused on QA and testing by the Computer Science University, which is UCI. He is also a ITQB certified tester and has been a QA and test engineer for over 10 years on complex projects in health, financial, retail, IT, and academic industries in the US and Latin America. He has been teaching software engineering, databases, and software testing as instructor and assistant professor since 2007, and he has also worked with performance test consultant and instructor for many companies and institutions in Uruguay, Argentina, Cuba, Colombia, Puerto Rico, and the US. He is also the co-author and master trainer for Performance Testing United certification, which is brought to you by Bright Test, and also a speaker in several webinars, conferences, boot camps in the US and Latin America. So moving on to our second presenter who will not be able to make it. But then just a brief intro about him as well, Mr. Guillermo. He is the head of software quality at Genexus Consulting and the founder of QA Lified, which is qualified a spin-off specialized in technical software testing and consultancy. With more than 12 years of experience in software development projects, he has a strong background in technical testing and defining strategies to build better software. His experience spans many companies in diverse industries, including finance, health, government, and IT. He also provides advice and training in testing to different nonprofit foundations and is the co-organizer of Testing UI conference in Uruguay. Performance Testing United co-author and master trainer, Glumiro has an MBA and holds a system engineer degree. So moving on to our third presenter, his name is Mr. Kyle Alexander Simmons. He is the CEO of Bright He is an energetic, loyal, and ardent Canadian from Winnipeg. After completing his bachelor's degree at the University of Manitoba in German literature and mathematics, Kyle moved to Berlin in 2006 with a DAAD scholarship and got his master's in communication and languages. After working for several years at various agencies, primarily into campaigns for national and international brands, he stumbled upon an incredible path which led him to where he is today, the CEO of a global exam provider called Bright So that was a brief introduction about our presenters for today. So coming to the topic on which they will be presenting, JMeter. So JMeter is a highly versatile open source performance testing tool. It has the ability to load and performance test many different applications, servers, and protocol types. The speakers will show you how to create different test plans in JMeter focused on web, mobile, database, web services, and API, and the 5 key points of doing performance testing. So if you're planning to start with performance testing, keep an eye on the most important things. You can find a lot of material, different training and tools for performance testing, but being successful at the beginning is not so easy. So the speakers have been leading many performance testing projects where they have learned some important lessons that have helped them to run successful projects, which they will be sharing with you today. So without further ado, over to you, Delvis.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's my pleasure to be here, share with you all. So let's start.
May I ask you to put your video on so we can all see you? It's 7 in the morning or whatever it is there in Florida.
It's 7 in the morning, Florida. So I have to be asleep, not sleep here. I have my coffee around here. So thank you so much for having me here. It's my pleasure to be here, share with you guys. So I love JMeter. JMeter is my partner since 10 years ago. So I have to keep in mind all the good practice and best practice for you guys. So JMeter is a highly versatile performance testing tool. It's my presentation. So let's start. The JMeter application is an open source software, 100% pure Java application designed to load test functional behavior and measure the performance. It was originally designed for testing web application, but has since expanded to other test functions. So JMeter has the huge community around the world. So so many people are using the JMeter on their projects. JMeter may be used to test performance both on static and dynamic resource. It can be used to simulate heavy loads on a server, like web servers and database servers at the server groups. It's highly versatile tool because you can test different protocols and web application, like a web application, mobile application, database using JDBC protocols, email, like NCTP, POP3, and IMAP protocols, FTP. I mean, a lot of application using the JMeter. So in this presentation, I want to show you how you can create different type of script on JMeter to execute performance testing on web application, mobile application, databases, web service, and API. So let me show you how you can use the JMeter for the web application using the real web demo. So in my case, I want to show you a couple of the web demo for training JMeter, because sometimes the performance tester, I'm looking for web to learning to practice the JMeter. So we have a lot of web to practice, I mean for create a script. So in that case, blazedemo.com is the good choice. It's the good choice to start on the performance testing for create our first scripts. It's very simple web. It's a static web, but you can practice, the HTTP recorder proxies. The first step here, it's how look your application for testing for web performance. So for example, in that web, let me show you how works this web. Understand the application. In that case, let me show you here. Maybe my proxy is here. Wait. Let me put in here the proxy. Okay. Okay, this is the web application. It's that web, it simulates the simple travel agency. So you can, for example, select your departure city. I want to fly Boston to Buenos Aires and find the flight. And then I can choose the flights. For example, this one. After that, I can fill all the value for my purchase. Okay, so it does mean how the application works. So how can I record the script on the JMeter? So first of all, I have to create the thread group. So it's so important, keep in mind that the thread group, you have to specify the load generation for your server of your application. In that case, I have to keep here one user at this moment, just for recording the script. So the next step is create the HTTP test script recorder, because I need to record that script. So this is the test script recorder proxy. So here is so important, keep in mind the port. In that case, I have to specify this port here. Because that port, I have to specify this port on the web here. Okay, so I need to go here, tools, option, here, proxy setting, and then in this window, I have to specify the port that I'm using on the JMeter. In that case, 8888. So here I need to specify the port. So I have to specify the HTTP proxy, in that case localhost, because I'm doing my testing on my own machine and my localhost. And here I have to specify that port, 8888. So, okay, here I'm ready here to recording my script, and then go to the home page to start again. And then here I have to specify here, for example, the target controller. The target controller, it's about to store all the requests getting from the browse. So in this case, I have to specify thread group here. And then the next step is start the proxy. This is the certification for the JMeter. I have to select OK. So in my browse, I need to specify the proxy, localhost 8888, and then here, let me start again. This is the web. So if you see on the JMeter, you can see into the thread group the request related with the first home page that I did. For example, in that case, this is the request, blazedemo.com, and this one, it's embedded result related with the home page. In that case, JavaScript and CSS. So the next step is continue with the flow of my web. For example, here, select Boston to Buenos Aires, find flights. So if you are going to JMeter, you can see on your in your test plan, in your test group, you can see the next request. In that case, reserve. It contains the city, from port and to port. Okay, in that case, Boston and Buenos Aires. So I can now continue with the test. For example, let me choose the flights and let me put here all the value. For example, let me specify my name, my address. It's not my real address. Don't worry. I'm from Miami, Florida. Sorry, here, city, Florida, 33993. This is my real zip code. Visa, don't worry about my credit card. It's not my number, okay? Okay, here. Okay, it's expired. Let me put in here my name. I know my name, it's kind of complicated. My last name is kind of complicated to pronounce, even to me. Okay, push the fly. And thank you for your purchase. So right now on the JMeter, we can see all the value. For example, this is the value that I selecting, and here is my confirmation, all my value. So now the next step is, automate the script. So automate the script means that you have to correlate and parameterize all the values on your script. For that web, it's very simple because it's a static web. But what happens when you have to dealing with the login, for example, or the purchase? So I have another web here. My intention is not reproduce again all the step and that on that web, but it's so important that you keep in mind that is the big difference when you try to record, for example, a static web and dynamic web. But here, for example, on this web, this is another one for practice the automate functional testing on performance testing. So I'm using that web for recording another script. So I recommend you that you have to use this one to learning, how you can create a script. So that web is that dynamic web. Inside that web, there are so many dynamic values. So you have to keep in mind that it's so important, the correlation process and the parameterization process. So it's a big process inside the automation proxies. So it's a big difference. So after that, I mean the correlation and the parameterization, you are ready to execute your script. So for execute your script, let me see that script. You can create, for example, listener to see what happened on your testing. The listener are recording all the result. For example, response time, percent error, the error of, for example, a 4000 error is so important, the 5 error. So here you can see, for example, what happened on your test. Let me specify another one. For example, this one here, active threads over time of active user over the time. So let me start the first execution. For example, I want to execute one user and see what happened with my test. For execution, you have to click here in this green button. First of all, you have to save your test plan. For example, let me save here. Okay, so if you're going to the view result tree, you can see all the response from the server. Let me see, I don't know what happened with the server. Maybe it's kind of busy right now. Let me see. Let me stop here. I'm waiting. It's maybe the application is down because let me see. Let me see here. It's kind of slowly right now. Let me see the proxy. Okay, it's come. Okay, it's kind of weird because it's not about the JMeter. Don't worry about the JMeter. It's it's maybe the web is kind of slow right now. You see, it's loading. So maybe on the JMeter it's kind of slow too. So you can see here all the requests. If you see the color green, that your request is okay. So when your request is in red, something is wrong. Let me do something inside the request for you that you can realize on the red color. Let me see. It's kind of slow. You see, it's executing. So if you click here, you can see their request. In that case, is the home page. So you can see to the response data. This is the response data here. So that response data you can see in different options in different way. For example, for HTML, for download resources in different way. So it's better keep in mind the text because it's better to understand and looking for like a regex and different. So something's wrong here. I don't know exactly. So it's very slow even from the web. Okay, so the next step, the next demo, it's about how you can create or how you can create a script from the mobile. So it's to mobile application is in the same way, but you have to follow a couple of extra steps on your real devices. So here, for example, on mobile, you have to download or install your mobile application on the test. And then you have to set up the HTTP test script recorder on the JMeter, like we did on the JMeter here. You have to keep in mind, the port here, here, and then you have to set up on your mobile how you can use the test script recorder as a proxy. In that step, into this step, you have to install the JMeter certification on your mobile. You have to set up a server and port on your Wi-Fi setting, manually configuration. I know right now it's kind of complicated because I can't show you the mobile, but you have to follow the step here. And you have to set up the server IP. The server IP on your Wi-Fi configuration, it's the same machine IP.
I think you might have lost your sound, Elvis. Can you hear us, Elvis?
Delvis, we are not able to hear you.
Hello, Delvis?
Hello.
Ah, perfect. We can hear you again. We couldn't hear you then. Oh.
No, I think so. Delvis.
Yeah.
Hello, Delvis. Are you might still be talking, but we can't hear you. I see your
Hey
screen
guys,
moving.
you hear me now?
Ah, yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened. It's maybe my connection. Okay, perfect. So now let me show you how you can use the JMeter, the JMeter to create the real script on the database. So for testing, for example, the database, you have to use the JDBC driver. So in my case, the first step, I have to download the JDBC driver. So in my case, I'm using MySQL. So it depends how driver you have to use. For example, if you are using SQL or Postgres or Oracle, you have to use the driver for your databases. So in my case, I'm using MySQL. So I need to download the JDBC driver to MySQL. So it's so important, once you download the JDBC driver, you have to copy that driver into the folder library in your machine, in your folder JMeter. So let me show you my database. This database is my own database for SQL. It's so simple database, but I can show you how you can create a script. So for example, I'm using PHP MyAdmin. So I have the database in my server. It's the JMeter. If you click the JMeter, you can see, for example, it's the simple one. It's the only table is user details. So that database has user ID, username, first name, last name, gender, and password. So in my JMeter, I can create, let me show you, I can create the simple script to testing that database, to generate load in that database. Okay, so for example, the first step is create the JDBC connection configuration. So for create that one, you have to go here to thread group, click add, and then config element, and select this one, JDBC, because you are using the JDBC driver. So you have to select this one, it's like this. And then here, you have to specify the address, the URL of your database. In my case, I'm using my local host, is my host because I'm using my machine like a server. So I have to specify JDBC, MySQL because it's my driver, my local host is my machine, the port for MySQL is 3306, and the name of my database. The name of my database is JMeter. Okay, so I have to specify here the name of my database. So I need to select the driver class. In that case, I'm using MySQL, but you can use Postgre, Oracle, Microsoft Server, whatever you are using. Let me select MySQL. And then if you have user and password, you have to specify here on the connection configuration your user or password. In my case, I don't have any password. It's my local machine, just the user. And then the next element to add, it's the JDBC request. If you see here on the web, you are using, for example, HTTP request. But if you are interested to load testing on the database, you have to use JDBC request like this one. So to add this one, you have to go here to thread group, add, and then go to the sampler, specify JDBC request. So JDBC request, that's mean a query. It's a simple query that you have to create to generate load on your database. So in my case, remember, I'm using that database. It's very simple. So I need to create different query to load testing to generate load on the database. So for example, this one is the first query. I have to select all the value from that table, user detail, where the first name is David. The second one, select the username from this table, where the first name is David and the gender is male. So the last one, it select the username for that table when the password is this one. So let me execute. For execute, for example, I'm here my view result tree, because remember the view result tree, you can see all the value from the result. Okay, so let me execute. In the thread group, I have to specify for now one user because I'm generating only one user, only one thread on the database. Let me execute here. Let me hit here. The first query that I'm using, this is the request, this is my query, and this is the result of my query. So here I have to select all the value from the table, user detail when the name is David. So the result is this one here. So for the second one, this is the result, this is the request. In the last one, this is the request, is the query, and this is the response. So now, if I want to generate more load, more load over my database, I have to specify, for example, hey, I need to specify 10 user interacting with my system, with my database. So I have to specify here 10 user, and then I can execute and see my view result tree, and you can see 10 times the same request, in that case, the same query on my database. So in that way, you can generate load over your database. So it's very simple. It's so important, keep in mind here, the connection configuration and your query. So you have to have any knowledge about how create query or this SQL. That is very simple. So it's so important, keep in mind that you have to be, prepared for write any query. So it's very simple for the database. So now let me show you a demo for the web service and API. I have the real web service. In that case, this web service is to add two integer numbers. It's very simple that one. For example, this is the web service. That web service, it's using to add two integer number. So this is the content of my web service. So it's here on the JMeter. You have to specify, first of all, the thread group, because remember, the thread group is the element that can generate load on the JMeter. So for the web service, you can use the HTTP request, like on the web, because the web service, it's kind of web. So you have to use the HTTP request. It's the only big issue with the web service and API is that you have to create your script manually. So for example, on the web, you can see you can record all the requests. But if you are using web service or API, you have to create your script manually. So for create the HTTP request, you have to first of all create the thread group. And inside the thread group, you have to add, for example, the sampler, the HTTP request, this one here. And then you have to create your own request. So in my case, I'm using that request that I showed you before, this one. So this is the post, this is the host, this is the headers in my request. So I need to take this one and pass all of them to my request. So how can I do that? In that way, for example, here, this is my web service. First of all, as I need to specify my host. That value I can copy from this web service. I have here my host. Okay, this is my host. I can copy this one, I'm putting here on the JMeter, the host. So the next step is the path. So the path is the same on the same way. You can copy here. I have my post, is the past, is the method, it's post, and this is the past. Okay, so I have to copy this one on my JMeter. This is my path, and this is my method. So the body data is this one here, the code. So in that case, that web service, it's at two numbers, integer A, integer B, two number here is the summatory. Okay, so now on the web service, I can specify that number. In this case, I put in here 150 and 50. Okay, so let me execute. Remember, you have to keep in mind for all your script, you have to specify the listener. In that case, view result tree. And then here you can execute here, and let me show you. You can click here, and you can see on the view result tree the result. This is the request, and you can see here the response data. So if you see my number here, it's 150 and 50. To add two number is 200. Really? So here in the view result tree, you can see here 200 because it's the add to number. So if you see that response, you have to verify with the real response from your web service. My real response from the web service, you can see here the response of your web service. You can see here the response. So add result, between add result, you can see the number here. Okay, so in your JMeter, you can see that one here, add response, add response. So this is how you can test in the web service. So now let's talk about API. API, it's so similar to the web service. So in that case, I want to show you how you can test in the real website related with the weather. So you can verify the temperature, for example, in your city. So this is the real web survey. Let me show you. This is the good one to learning how to testing, not only performance testing, even functional testing over API. So in that case, I'm testing this one. It's open weather. It's totally free. You can, it's not totally free. It's a kind of free. You can use a couple of them free. So this is my API. This is the API that I want to know. I have to specify the serial name and the APP ID. So the APP ID is the security. It's like a token security. So you have to looking for inside the website your APP ID. So in my case, let me show you. In my case, I have to create the HTTP request like a web server because the API are using the HTTP request. Okay, so here you can create manually. Again, it's the the big issue for the web server, the API, is that you have to create manually your own request. Not like a web that you can record in. You have to create manually. So I have to add first of all the HTTP request. So inside the HTTP request, you have to specify the server name, the method, in that case a get because I'm getting something, and the path. Okay, it's so important. Keep in mind the content of your API, the structure of your API, because if you don't have that structure, you can automate the API. So, because sometimes the people, our manager say, hey, I need to testing the API. So what is the API? What is the structure of your API? We need to understand how works the API. So it's so important, keep in mind. So here's the path, and then I have to specify the city, the country, and the APP ID. So in that case, you can see the variable inside the body, the parameters. So I can create the CVS to understand that city. In my case, if I execute here, you can see, for example, this one. I specify my city, Miami, and my country, US. So if you, for example, here is two. Let me specify just for one, for the better understanding. So this is the first one. The request, it's about how is the weather in Miami, US, like a country, code, and this is the APP ID here, the number here. So this is their request. So their response is that one. Here you can see the speed of the wind, the visibility, the temperatures are different because that API it's about the weather. So it's so simple automate web service and API, but it's so important. Keep in mind that you have to be prepared to find the structure of your API of the web service. So in that way, you can create the testing for API. So the versatile of the JMeter it's so huge. You can create test plan for the web, for mobile, for web service, from API. So even right now, there is the plugin on the JMeter to create test plan for video streaming. Right now everyone have to YouTube or different video content. So before 2 years ago, it was impossible to test in the performance for the video content because it's so hard automate that video. So right now there is a plugin. It's totally free for the JMeter, so you can use. It's about the protocols ASLM video streaming. So it's so easy right now create different test plan for the JMeter. So another thing important on the JMeter is totally free. So you have to use the tools completely free for any project. So right now, let me talk about a little bit about the 5 key points when doing performance testing. It's about Guillermo, but I can do it, that presentation. So first of all, the big one is understand your application. Before you through with the implementation, it's very important to understand your application, the capability that that application offers, its intended use, and the kind of condition in which it's supposed to be performance. So your team should also understand and know the limitation of your application. Try to list out the common factor that might affect the performance of the application and consider this parameter while testing. The second one, it's make it from the beginner. You know, performance testing, it's like a functional testing. You have to do the performance testing from the beginning. You don't have to wait on production on the last of the project to execute performance testing. It's like a functional testing. It's the principle of the testing. For functional testing, performance testing, usability testing, it doesn't matter. Many times we implementing performance testing in the later stage of the application developer lifecycle. It's difficult or more costly to implement change later on the developer process. Therefore, it's always advised to implement performance testing as part of your unit testing. You have to do performance testing beside your unit test. So this helps your team to quickly identify performance issues and rectify them as the development progress. So 3, set realistic performance benchmark. Sometimes the expectation that you have from your application maybe not be realistic. So that is why it's very important to set realistic baseline by picking practical and realistic scenario. You need to be sure that your test bed include different variables, the devices or environment on which your application will have to perform. Understand the performance from the user perspective. It's so important. You know, we are using performance testing to measure how our web servers are doing on production. But it's more important, keep in mind the user perspective. For example, when Black Friday, it's crazy how many companies are looking for improve the performance testing because it's a big deal. So it's so important, keep in mind, if you are using a website to sell something, remember the next click maybe is on the web competition. So it's so important to keep in mind that. So because so many people are thinking, hey, I'm doing performance testing just for technical issue on my server. I need to improve, I don't know, maybe the memory of my server or the CPU. No, you have to keep in mind the perfection for the user. Even though if you have a clear understanding of your performance testing, it's so important to understand the user perspective. We tend to focus on the response of the survey. However, it's also important to consider the user experience. If your server load testing are satisfactory, it does not mean that the user will have the same experience. That should be capture the user experience. It's so important. Keep in mind the user experience. It's very there is the very area inside the performance, because the performance is not only take the JMeter tools and do the testing. There is the area about the perception of the performance. It's a mix between psychological performance. Is how the user can receive the information quickly or slowly. So it's very interesting. So the last one, implement DevOps. DevOps is the beautiful area right now. Today, most of the company are striving for shorter development cycle with test automation. However, if we look at the performance testing, it's a time-consuming process and requires constant human intervention to bring it to success. Implementing DevOps culture will help you to bring together your developer and testing team together and help you to identify error to continue testing and solve them immediately. So it's so important, keep in mind DevOps on performance testing. So guys, it's all to me. I don't know if you want to ask something. Right now it's Sky talking, sorry. A lot of time about talking about performance.
That's perfect. And you're the right person to be talking about performance. So yeah, I guess we don't have the questions yet, but the questions can come at the end. I can present for the next portion. So let's wait for him to get the permission. Who's the one to give me the permission for being able to share the screen?
Yeah, just a second, Kyle, one second. Yeah, here you go, Kyle.
Perfect. Here we go. So then we'll move there. So you can see my face double. Isn't that wonderful? So hello and welcome everyone. I hope you've enjoyed the start with the main part of the presentation from Delvis, who's a well-known performance testing expert. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the certification that they've created. So Guillermo and himself were the two main ones behind this one. Yeah, so this is me. I'm Kyle. Great to be here. A little bit about Brightest, so you know who we are as we're focusing on as a global exam body. So Brightest, basically, we're a global exam provider based here in Berlin, Germany. We collaborate with local experts and thought leaders throughout the IT industry across the globe. And we offer internationally recognized certifications. As you can see here, mainly big ones are the ISTQB, IFPOC, which focus on function point analysis, functional and non-functional, as well as ISAQB for software architecture. And the last part that we have here, the Uniteds. So this is a big part, so I've made a separate part for it. Of course, here, focusing on the Uniteds, performance testing United to be specific. This one is actually it's been created by Delvis and Guillermo, as I've mentioned, and there's quite a few other ones as well that have been launched already. So mentioning DevOps as well, that we are now able to should implement it, the fifth rule of performance testing, as well as a few others that are being started right now. So we have, you can see 10 currently that we're working on. The last 3, this is a little sneak peek for you. Basically, we're always working together, creating review committees who review it all and make sure that it is going to be an international certification from the very beginning. They're created by international experts, and yeah, various languages are available. So here they are again, just a little quick reminder: Cloud United, SDET United, API United. If these are topics that are interested to you, we have closed the review committees for the other topics. So if you want to join these ones, you can reach out to me as well. So a little bit about the performance testing, what we're actually going to be talking about today, the performance testing, the certified performance tester with JMeter. It's a 3-day course that is focused basically on the JMeter experience. So a little bit like you saw today was a little sneak peek of how you would be figuring that out and using the tool. Prerequisites here, there are a couple, as it is focused a little bit more on programming. So we see the basic knowledge in programming, HTTP protocols, and software architecture. So the full explanations can be found in the syllabus, but basically when we're talking here, the basic knowledge about HTTP protocol is understanding about HTTP request and response, and the main elements involved like cookies, URL, parameters, method, get, post, headers, and body. And the other part, the basic knowledge of software architecture, is understanding about web architectures based in layers, so the client servers portion. And for the full list of the BOs and LOs, I'll ask you to check the syllabus. I can tell you the BOs to give you a point, because there's 4 main business objectives, is what we call that, as to understand the main concepts of performance testing and the methodology for conducting it. That's number 1. Number 2, to use the JMeter tool to create and run performance testing on web applications, as we are shown today a little bit about. Analyze, number 3, analyze performance testing results and identify application performance improvements. And the number 4, identify application performance indicators and use tools for monitoring. So these are the main business objectives. I will not take you through the learning objectives, or LOs as we call them here, as there are 23 of those, but they are available here on the link with the website. It's www.pt-united.com. You can also put in .org, you will get to the same place. Basically, to end it off, there's a 1-hour exam, which is 40 multiple choice questions. You need 65% or 26 questions correct to pass. There you go. So important to also think about is the successful candidates will also receive a digital badge, a digital credential via a claim by Credly. It's the market leader in giving digital badges, and you can basically be verified in real time and posted on all your social media channels as you prefer. LinkedIn, Facebook, there's about 20 different ones that can be posted in. So, and just a little idea, so the ISTQB, I'm sure you're all familiar. If not, this is all available on the ISTQB website. What we're going to focus on here are the main ones that we could consider prerequisites. We recommend them. It's not 100% required, but of course, if you're going to be taking a performance testing course and have no idea about testing, it could be quite challenging. So also we here have the foundation level is the ISTQB CTFL. And they now have a performance testing, which Brightest does also offer as the exam for in English and Spanish and other languages to come. So these are the two courses. The syllabi are online, also on our website. So you can find them under the resources part of the Brightest webpage. And if you have any questions about those or where you can take a course, please never hesitate to let us know. Of course, our friends here at Verity Software offer both these courses and we'll be able to support you with that as well. So just a little bit more about Brightest and how we work. So we do collaborate with many different training providers around the world. So we have quite the profile that's growing here. So you can see a long list of all of our different training provider partners from around the world. You can actually go onto our website and you can filter through them based on the country and find the one that best suits for you. You can also do the same for the training courses. So the training providers have the ability to upload their training courses to our website. You can also filter through there to find one that's closest to you and making sense. Now with online courses, it's quite easy to find something. Just have to pay attention to the time zone. And of course, in India, our biggest partner is the Verity software team. So there we go. And just a little bit of information about how you can do exams with Brightest. We do have 4 modalities. So the main one is the Brightest Green, or not main one, but the main one for groups, maybe not as COVID friendly. For electronic exams is the Brightest Green exam. This is seen here with a little tree on the screen. Basically what we do there is for groups of 6 or more anywhere in the world, we would send a local proctor to supervise and be the key to start an exam. People can do it on their own laptops and do it from anywhere in the world. They just need to be, in this case, in one location. Then also we work with Pearson VUE for all their test centers. So that's 5,200 different test centers around the world. So you can register by clicking on that button there, the Pearson VUE website. It will take you to our portion of the Pearson VUE page where you can register and take your exam. Currently also with Jump 1 to the private exams. These are the ones that are most common now in the current situation we're in. So you can take your exam from home. The registration is still via Pearson VUE. It's the same page, it's the same tool. And there's also information there about testing your system and being prepared for that. So that's very simple, very easy to use. And yeah, we're very proud to be working for Pearson VUE to offer these options. We do also have the paper-based exam, and we can run those anywhere in the world as well, though we prefer to do it electronically if possible to save the paper and save the time that you would need for your results, because we have to send the information back and forth, the booklets, and always keeping in mind we don't ever want to have those going, so they are disappearing on the way back, so they're always using shared mail, which sometimes takes a little bit more time. Important for India, we do have a local exam administration partner, the Indian Testing Board, who I'm sure you're all familiar with. If not, we will have the link up here later. You will still receive, in this case, for the United, you will still receive your badge and your certificate via Brightest. So a little bit about my contact information. So my name, Kyle Siemens. Yes, you can reach me via my email, kyle@brightest.org, or my entire team at info@brightest.org, or find any information about us on the website, brightest.org. And also to include our partners here for India, Verity Software, I have included, they're also on the call today, Vinay and Anil. Both of their emails are here and the website as well. So they have regular courses that are being listed there. And can support you with any needs you might need for that. All right, so now we get to the portion where if anyone has any questions, you can please let us know. And yeah, I think we'll need Delvis back for this one as well to answer any technical questions you might have. Delvis, are you there? We did have a question here for Delvis. I see you have answered in the chat. I don't know if you want to explain it to everyone.
Yeah, I responded the question on the chat. Someone asked you about how you can please streaming performance testing. Yeah, so it's very simple. It's the plugin on the for JMeter. It's the HLC plugin. You can go to the JMeter jmeter-plugin.org and looking for. I can provide the URLs. It's very simple. It's using that plugin.
So I guess you'll put these in the chat.
Yeah, I respond that on the chat. I can share on the chat the URL. Okay, I got it. Perfect. It's very simple. It's just download the plugin, add to the JMeter folder, and then looking for a sampler, so you can select the HLS plugin, and then you can execute performance testing on video streaming.
Perfect. So it looks like it's jmeter-plugins.org. So it should be easy
Exactly.
to find.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Do we have any more questions coming in at the moment? Maybe it was a lot of information at the beginning.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry about it.
No problem. And again, the information about the syllabus is available. I can put it also in the chat via Performance Testing United website. So that's PT, well, I'll put the www.pt-united.com or org. It doesn't matter. You'll both end to the same place. Oh, I didn't put it to everyone. Go.
So you know what, Kai? It's so important. Announce to the people. Right now, we are with the basic level for the performance testing United. So in the future, we are prepare another advanced level. So right now, that one it's a simple one, but we are doing for the different levels.
So for anyone that was way too simple for you this morning, that was shown to you by Delvis, you can be surprised that there will be more advanced level coming in the future. And anything else? Did we have any questions from anyone? All right. I guess you must have clarified everything. Everyone, I guess, has the information they need to reach out to the Verity software team for courses in India, to reach out to us for questions about the exam, and can recheck the whole Performance Testing United website for videos and the download of the syllabus. It's available in English and Spanish, as well as there's a sample exam with the answers for 10 question sample exam. So you can go there and have a look and see how you're doing and test out your knowledge even before you take a course. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities open to you there. I'd see there is another questions coming in. How much does the certification cost in India? I will leave this up to Anil to respond to, or perhaps we can, I know if Brightest runs it, there's a certain price, but that's why we have a partner in India who can run it locally. So maybe they can answer that. But another question is, do we need practical experience before we can take it up? I'll leave that over to you, Delvis. What practical experience does someone need before taking the course?
If you take the course, you don't have enough practice. If you don't know anything about JMeter, you are more than welcome, because on the course you can learn how you can, the simple way, open the JMeter or install the JMeter if from the beginning. Even we have the number chapter based on the foundation of performance testing. So you have to know what is performance testing, what is JMeter, and then you can practice the JMeter on real projects with the web application, with a real web application.
Perfect. And I think that also important is there are the prerequisites. So a little bit of knowledge is required. You should have some experience in programming. It doesn't mean you have to have a ton, but you should have an understanding about variables, functions, methods, control structures,
Exactly.
So like conditionals and loops. And also, as I mentioned, I can just quickly go through them as well. The basic knowledge about HTTP protocols, so understanding about HTTP request and response. And the main elements involved like cookies, URL parameters, methods, GET, POST, headers and bodies, and the knowledge about software architecture. So understanding about web architectures based in layers, clients and servers. So these are the main ones. Perfect. And I believe that for more details regarding the course, we have the emails put there in the chat for Vinay and Anil, the same ones that were in the presentation. I can go a step back as well. Go. So for these two emails here, you can reach out to if you're looking for courses directly in India. They'll be able to help you with prices, and they can probably tell you the prices of the exams too. And if you're looking for any prices as well, depending on your country, you're welcome to also check in Pearson VUE. Creating a profile is free. You can go in, and by the end, before you purchase, it will obviously say what the price is. So then you will also know. I believe the current price for India, if you book through Brightest, is $150 US. But if you do it through the Indian testing board, you're going to have a better price advantage. Perfect. Any more questions? Definitely thank you for joining. If no, we don't have any more questions. And yeah, it was a pleasure being here today. Thank you, Delvis. Thank you to the wonderful team.
Thank you so much, guys, for inviting me here. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Delvis, for that wonderful presentation. I really hope it was really helpful for all the participants, and the people who are interested, you can definitely get in touch with Kyle, Delvis, or you can get in touch with us for more details regarding. So we certainly look to have more participants for this course once the dates are out. And that's it from our side. Thanks a lot to the presenters. Thanks a lot to the participants also. Hope you all have a great week ahead. Stay safe. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. See you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Delvis. Thanks, Kyle. Bye-bye.